Hey guys, 2 weeks ago, we released Malcolm and Marie, where we go over the movie and our opinion and conclusions about the dynamics of the male and female relationship between the characters Malcolm and Marie. Malcolm is a newly movie director. Marie is an actress that has had some sort of drug use and drug abuse history, and yet together they engage in this kind of conversation back and forth that resembles a lot of the issues and multiple issues that we experience in relationships day to day. So here's part two. Drop a note in the comments. Let us know what your opinion is. Thanks.
I've been giving you the worst. Now you wanna stay tonight. Pretty how you work hard for me. We're forgetting how to talk.
Okay. I actually have something very specific I wanted to say.
It's almost like I'm not even a fly on the wall.
Right.
The fly on the wall gets more credit than I do.
Right.
But one thing I noticed was she wasn't coming from the place where, hey, I'm eager to just break up and leave.
Right.
And no longer have a relationship. I didn't really get that from him either.
Correct.
I heard him apologize, right, for certain things. It kind of went up and down. It was extremely intense.
Yes.
It takes you on a roller coaster, and if this was your brother and sister-in-law, you would leave the room.
Right.
You probably
It
leave the house.
was very.
You probably leave the house.
It was very intimate
Yeah.
and definitely not.
Yep.
I mean, I would have to credit both actors because they definitely seemed like people who had an actual real relationship. The emotion that they evoked, just for me watching it was definitely
And
high
that's the
and
thing.
intense.
So I watched the movie before.
Right.
And it did not dawn on me until we started doing this whole dating piece and segments, right? That, wait a minute, this movie here would be phenomenal to go back and watch, right?
Right.
Even to the point
Keeping all these things in mind.
even to the point of, hey, why don't we go ahead and just have people in the Facebook group go ahead and watch it also, and then like have a particular thread that we can begin about the feedback, and then maybe even create an online meeting about it, right?
Right.
But then, so I said, hey, let's watch it, because now what happened, it had a completely different meaning this time.
Yes.
I'm not saying it was meaningless when I watched it the first time.
Understood.
But I was thinking I was watching a movie that was going to entertain me. Now, I have seen a lot of movies that involved only two characters
Right.
in terms of being on camera. And they were in essentially one room or one area.
A limited
And
setting.
they were going back and forth. Because I believe, who was the other one? I want to say Samuel Jackson.
With the pandemic, there have been a lot of them, but the ones that are done to this quality,
Yeah. So there was one, and I can't remember the name of it, and it was recent. And it was with two really good actors, one Caucasian, one African American. And I didn't finish watching it because I thought it was a lot, and there was, again, so I never liked movies that happen in the same spot the entire movie. Remember the movie Phone Booth?
Yes.
Right? And it's right there, and the
Yes.
guy never moves from there, right? So those movies, for me, they're harder to watch, right?
Okay.
Now, when I rewatched this, it was completely different. I was attentive because I was hanging off of every single word that they were saying, because I was basically scrutinizing it for the dynamic that these
Of the relationship.
the multiple conversations,
Yes.
because it was one big dialogue, right? But it's technically 4 or 5 different fights,
Right.
And
That
then
were
the
going
dynamic,
on.
and then sometimes she came in hard, and then sometimes he would come in hard or soft
Right.
as well, right? So it was truly a roller coaster, and I'm trying to now navigate it. Go ahead.
So one thing that I know for certain, or I feel confident that if you watch this film, let's say 2 more times or more, each time is going to mean something different, or you're going to see or learn or observe something different than the first time, because there's just so much emotion and data and so many issues being addressed. Even at one point, to generalize the movie
Yeah.
and say that it wasn't so much based on Marie. Malcolm had made the statement that, no, actually, I take that back. The person who reviewed it had compared it to the plight of women in color, women of color.
Yeah.
And he got upset about that because he's like, oh, I'm not trying to make a political statement, political films. And he made whatever statements of his opinion of how they were derivative to what he was going for with his film. But there was just so many things being addressed, or even if they weren't delved into, they were mentioned and brought up.
But even though overall it was a positive review. So again,
Right.
we're dealing with insecurities
Yes.
and dealing with, I guess, truly not really understanding how people think.
Right.
I'm not sure if he understands his audience, right? Now, with a movie, you take that in some into consideration.
Right.
But at the same time, it was overall a win.
Right, for him.
That's what she's saying. He's saying, well,
Right.
I didn't want it to be, political. I didn't want it to be like this. I didn't want to make certain statements and so on and so forth. But it's a win. He had the inability to accept the win.
Right. And she goes to great lengths later, like after that initial conversation between them, to bring it back to, this is a good review. Like she's telling him, take the win.
So at this point, we're 70%, 75% into the film.
Correct.
And now, after the argument getting started, after her not being acknowledged, right?
Right.
She's still supporting him.
Correct. And I think that that's important to note, because whether it be the male or female in a relationship, the spouse or partner who feels like they're supporting and encouraging the one whose career, or maybe they have something that's high profile, where the other, think Barack and Michelle Obama, where you have one go in the lead and the other one automatically has to be more behind the scenes because they both can't take lead and support the family and the home and everything else.
But they know how to do it so well,
Right.
right? That they understand the cadence. So they understand the stage, they understand the audience.
Right.
And then if you notice, if Barack is up front, Michelle doesn't. She's very careful to take the limelight or spotlight
Right.
away. When Michelle is up front, Barack is way
Same.
back.
Correct.
Okay? Remember when she was doing her book tour? And there was one stop where they had her on stage. They said, well, we have a guest. And it was Barack surprising her.
Right.
Right? But even then, I mean, obviously he's a very intriguing person, right?
Right.
To be the first African-American U.S. president, and the journey to get there, and his journey through the White House, right?
Right.
However, there was a supporting woman there that her herself was a phenomenal lawyer,
Right.
Ivy League educated,
Exactly.
top of her class and things of that nature. When she herself was told that by the school counselor that maybe she should, I don't know what it was, go into janitorial,
It was
something crazy.
Right.
In other words, she didn't have the aptitude to go to a Princeton or,
Right.
and it's crazy because it's like, I guess I showed you type of thing. So they both are powerhouses in their own right.
Correct.
But a dance has a format that it only looks like a beautiful piece of art
Right.
when it's done correctly,
Right.
where one leads
Right.
and the other follows.
And there cannot be two leading in a dance. It doesn't work.
It's like two left feet.
Right. And also, I definitely, what resonated most with me is that out in the world, in real life, these type of couples, whichever partner or spouse is in that supporting role, because, we're saying man, woman, but then I always like for us not to forget that we have same-sex couples and same-sex marriages. And regardless of how anybody would choose, whatever their view or perspective is, those are still relationships that have a dynamic. And when the one partner is there supporting, so the other partner maybe can have their opportunity to be great,
Right.
even if those roles are not going to be reversed, that supporting partner is often, I believe, underappreciated. We see it across the board. And that's why I think it's really important to point out that it's not a female thing. It's a thing that can happen to a man or a woman. And in a same-sex couple, there is no man-woman dynamic to address.
No,
and
but there are roles.
There are
Like
still
when you
roles.
said someone's in the spotlight, someone's
Right.
is like in a supporting role versus starring in the movie, right?
Right.
So, and I think that goes across the board with anything, not even
Yes.
relationships. But listen, we're limited on time, so I've
Yes.
got to ask:
Okay.
who should watch this movie? And even if you watched it, who should go back
And
and
rewatch it.
with this in mind?
Anyone who's part of a couple, wants to be in a couple, had a failed marriage or pairing, I think it's any adult really that can understand the dynamics of a relationship would benefit from watching this film, because it is speaking about dynamics in a couple, but it addresses the relationships have dynamics outside of romantic relationships. I was going to say male female because it's my conditioning. So yeah, anybody could benefit.
And there's always individuality, right?
Oh, that is important.
Where one or the other, or both, could literally not be ready or be the best version of themselves.
Correct.
Where they build a fruitful and productive relationship.
Correct.
Right?
Because
So that's something
the other thing we talk about a lot is authentic self, embodying your authentic self, and bringing that out.
Yep.
Because some of us are not even
What
connected
about
with
the
it.
other end of that? We're accepting it, right? Accepting someone for who they are.
Correct.
Now, something stuck out to me during the movie. And
Okay.
I'm trying. I'm a bit perplexed,
Okay.
and maybe I'm not smart enough to figure this out. But Marie's character
Yes.
said, "That is the best and the worst of you." Right.
Right.
So basically, the best that you'll ever be and the worst that you'll ever be. And I think it was the fact of not mentioning her or what have you, and things of that nature. That's something I really would like to kind of ponder on
Delve
a
into.
little bit. But it reminds me though, when you meet someone, you're getting to know them.
Right.
Yeah, I want this, that, and that.
Yes.
And they may want certain things too.
Right.
But this is who I have in front of me. So I have to figure out if these deficiencies or flaws or shortcomings is something that I can get past through and still love this person.
Right.
If they don't change one iota, not one atom of them changes.
Can you
Their behavior
accept
stays the
them
same. Can you
in
accept
their
them?
current form?
Yep.
Yeah, that's very important. I have some ideas that I know we'll delve into later about, I feel like it relates to potential and Marie not reached the limits of her potential, and her suggesting that perhaps he has, which would say that she's better off than him because she still has time to explore and reach that. But there's a lot that we definitely need to, I would say that could be one segment all by itself,
Gotcha.
address.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is Jose and Charlene's recap of Malcolm and Marie. Check it out. It's on Netflix still. It has not come off.
Right.
I would like for you guys to really just kind of soak it in and try to navigate a little bit through the dynamics that are presented on screen, and give us some feedback. But I
Yeah.
appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.